Are getting started.
Cap Kingdom, always a fun one. Everyone loves to see Cap.
We're always seeing Cap in every single category since it's right at the beginning. So Cap can really be an important kingdom and really laying the foundation for a good run.
Oh no, it looks like Seren's screen is okay.
Okay, we're back for Saren.
Yes, Cap is mostly the same in every category. In at least Cap 1, minus maybe getting
Definitely.
some coins.
Minus maybe some coins or the checkpoint, depending on if you're going to be coming back or not. Why is Saren using English? He didn't really fill us in on why he uses English, but
It's probably some super secret pro gamer strat or something.
But for those of you not familiar with SMO, simplified Chinese is the fastest language for text scrolling purposes. So that's what Boris would be using.
A lot of people think it's Japanese, but it's actually simplified Chinese. And here
True,
we see
and it was Japanese until about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Japanese was believed to be fastest.
And here we see Saren using Joy-Cons. You love to see it.
How much time does it save in any percent? It saves several seconds over English.
Yeah, Chinese, I believe, saves like 13 seconds, I believe. I know so Chinese is 3 over Japanese.
Saren missing that second hat on the first topper fight here.
Yeah, the timing there can be a little annoying sometimes. But both are at a cap. Boris is a little bit ahead. Actually, that was a pretty decent cap.
Yeah, he's getting the sub 230 cap, which is always a good way to start, especially at a 111 well. 111 level, well, you're not really using DSTA. It doesn't look like either of them set up for DSTA, so I don't think we're going to be seeing that.
Yeah. Most of the time people have stronger, like CCS, so Cap Cascade stands, just because they're at the beginning of the, at the very beginning of the run, so you get the most practice with them.
Yeah, definitely. Unless you're focusing on doing a lot of no resets or doing ILs or individual levels, you're definitely going to be doing Cap Cascade and Sand the most.
So it is still fairly close right now. Boris is slightly ahead, but not by too much, so it is still very early in the run. Let's hope we don't have any dino skip mishaps like before. The dino can be a little finicky sometimes.
Definitely, yes. This is the first, major skip that we're seeing, in the run. By lining up the dino, you could jump right up into the Harriet fight. Looks like Boris got it nice first try, no problem.
Yep. It's actually a very convenient skip. It essentially stops you having to circle around and then watch a cutscene go through a whole 2D section, so it saves quite a bit of time. I don't remember exactly how much, but I'm sure it's like a minute or more probably.
Yes, definitely.
Just given how much you have to do.
Saren also getting it first try, no problem. So
it looks like Boris's stream is having a bit of a hiccup.
It does, yes. Okay. Looks like maybe he's just dropping some frames, but we're doing okay. We're back.
Probably what it is. Saren getting the fast strats for this fight. They're a little hard. You have to get your timing and spacing pretty well. But if you sort of jump on the head of the chain chomp, you can sort of stop it and then capture it a lot quicker.
Yes, the aim there is to knock off the hat of the chain chomp and capture it on the same jump to save time.
Yes, because the capture mechanic in this game, you can capture things, but sometimes enemies will be wearing hats, and you obviously can't put a hat on something that already has a hat, so you sometimes have to knock it off, and that's one of those cases.
Yeah, Dokido, I do see that my picture is changed to Saren's picture, but Saren's currently in the middle of a speed run, so I guess we're just gonna be living with it. Just pretend I'm a cat.
Yes. Nurse Allison the cat.
I'm more of a dog person myself, but looks like both runners here are really getting solid cap and cascades.
Yeah, Saren, it seems like Saren lost a little bit of time in the fight just because the fast strats were a little... he didn't get the fast strats like perfect. So you do actually lose quite a bit more time than you'd think in that. And I think he did miss the multi-moon as well, so that lost him a little bit of extra time, but it's still fairly close. And
We saw the very interesting pause buffer there from Saren.
Yeah. Sand can definitely heck things, so... And we see a little action guide from Boris.
I'm not getting a super fast action guide there, but you know, it's those small things that you know, can save a person time over an hour long run.
You hear the call audio and the stream audio? Oh.
It's like Saren is exploring the action guide there.
Yeah, it seems like Saren is not deafened, so that might be why. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Saren is currently not deafened, but I don't know if that's the reason.
It might be. I'm not a technology person, so I wouldn't really know. Sand is also kind of interesting in, at least in the beginning, it can be stressful making the bird cycle because the bird actually starts flying like in between like the cutscenes. So if you're not fast with your cutscene skips, it can make the bird be a little farther away than you expect.
Right, and we are seeing a different route here. We're seeing the non-DSTA route, which is for people that are on the 110 and up level. Well, not necessarily, but it's one of the levels that doesn't require DSTA, so it's a little bit different. Looks like Boris here is not going to go for the dram, not even going to try it.
Yeah, it's a fairly difficult strat, and it's not very worth it. It doesn't save that much time for how difficult it is, and you end up losing a lot more most of the time. Yeah, sub 6 cascade. DSTA you can set up as
Saren
well.
getting a value dive off that icicle.
Ooh,
That could
nice
be
backup.
very tricky, and that area is notorious for value dive.
That was a nice backup though with the Shirane bounce. Nice and quick getting back on top of the icicle.
Looks like Saren also is not going to attempt the sand dram here. Both of them are not even going to try it. It can be a difficult trick, as the aim is that you capture the bullet bill right after you get the moon, so you skip having to climb up this icicle that Saren is attempting to climb.
Yeah, and there's also a difficult strat you can do, manipulating where the bullet goes to only have to use one. That also saves a bit of time, but it's very difficult. It looks like we're not seeing any Sphinx route either. We saw a few other people doing Sphinx route earlier today.
Yeah, the number of moons, especially the number of moons available in sand, create a whole host of potential routes that people can do.
Yeah, and they might not be that much slower than the others. It looks like they're both sort of doing the standard beginner's route that we use in 2020, which doesn't
2021 now.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to get used to that, you know? It is the new year. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. Okay, Jaxie skip went good. That's always good to see.
And Juice, to answer your question, you don't have to have a capture card, but you do have to have a way to record your gameplay so that it can be seen.
We're seeing some Sphinx route here from Saren. That's kind of poggy. You sadly don't see that too often anymore, but it's always cool when you do. Yes, there are lots of coins in the Sphinx room.
Yeah, that's why the Sphinx room is utilized for things such as nipple percent, because of the availability of coins.
And that's actually that's why it used to be routed in before, because earlier, before I believe it was 1.2, there were no hint arts. So that's an easy way to get enough coins to buy a moon, both in wooded and later on in the run in snow.
Exactly. Those 2D hint arts were actually released in soft patches throughout the game, and they utilize you to be able to get 200 coins in a ground pound. Alright, easy Jaxie skip there from Saren.
And it looked like Saren did pick up a checkpoint just before this in case anything went wrong, which is always smart to do.
Oh no! Saren mistimed their rolls there and went into the purple lava. So that is going to lose a significant amount of time there.
But not that much, because luckily Saren did pick up a checkpoint as a
That's
sort of
true.
safety net. So it's losing time, but not the 20 or so seconds it would be from going all the way from town.
And we see Boris here moving on to Lake Kingdom. What do you think, Sly? You think we'll see any late clip at this level?
Probably not. In any percent, it's not very worth it, because it only saves 7 seconds if you do it well, and it can be very hard to set it up very quickly and get the difficult movement afterwards. So you usually don't see much late clip at this level. If we do see it, I would be very surprised.
Same here, definitely. Okay, nope, we are not going to see a late clip here from Boris.
So it looks like Saren is about 2 or so minutes behind, judging by how far Boris is into Lake.
That does seem about right.
A little fish bonk. Fish bonks suck. I don't know why they put them in the game, other than just to torture speedrunners.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. You can also bonk with Yoshi as well, so several captures you can bonk with.
Oh, you can bonk with Yoshi? How did I not know this? I figured I would have done that by now. Oh, Boris
It is less common for sure. See, Boris here on the Rango fight. As long as you have good timing on this fight, it can be kind of auto-scrollery.
Yeah, sometimes the hitboxes are a little annoying, but Boris was confident that he would get the fight fine because he didn't pick up a checkpoint, so
Right.
that was
no problem there on Boris's end. And Saren could have utilized a strat using a down throw to capture the fish since he is using Joy-Cons, but we're not seeing that here.
Yeah,
so
they actually used to, back in the 1.0 days, they used to actually, since most players play with Procon, they would have Joy-Cons on the side just for that specific fish capture.
Yep, and you'll see people running categories like All Moons having Joy-Cons set aside for specific reasons for the purposes of down throws.
Yes. In any percent, though, the difference between Pro-Con and Joy-Con isn't as great as longer categories, and even then it's fairly minimal, so Joy-Cons are still better than Pro-Con.
Oh no, we see Saren missing the timing here on the Rango fight, and this is what happens when you mess up the timing.
Yeah,
it can really
a
be
little early.
quite a bit of time loss.
There is a backup that you can do for the Rango fight if you do mess up the timing, but it's a little awkward. You have to sort of like ground pound jump around Rango and get on top of the hat, so it's not a very comfortable thing to do, and it can sometimes be a little difficult.
All right, we got Boris here into Wooded Kingdom, and it's really going to be interesting to see what kind of route we see here from Boris. I'm not sure if they're going to be utilizing Nut Clip or not. What do you think, Sly?
Probably not using Nut Clip. We may see Gory Route possibly, which is where you do a lot of the Nut Clip stuff, but instead of actually doing the clip, you sort of backtrack and do a jump to get up to an area you're supposed to get. Oh, sort of going for Nut Clip. I don't think that worked.
No, that definitely did not work. Their angle was not correct for a Nut Clip. I'm not sure if he was trying for it or not.
It definitely looked like it. It was probably just for like a gate skip or just to see if he could get it though, because you do actually save a little bit of time if you even just fall down from there and pull the lever. So yeah, just because you're doing Nut Clip doesn't mean that you're doing all of the movement after. We got the insta capture. That was nice. Spin throw insta capture.
You see, in this game, you have to not only be good at controlling Mario, but you also have to be good at controlling all the captures utilized throughout the race. So that's something that makes Odyssey unique in that facet, where you don't just have to control the character, but you're controlling the captures as well.
Yeah, it can make for some very interesting things, and some captures are very hard to control. But luckily not too many of the ones that are sort of annoying to use are in any percent. So
See Boris here in the flooded pipeways.
it looks like he could make this cycle.
Looks like he's just going to wait it out and wait for the next cycle. That cycle is consistent, and he probably could have made it if he booked it a little bit faster.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to make though. You do have to practice it quite a bit. Ooh, going for the triple up there. Bonked onto the nut, but that still opens it. Let's see if they're both going for Warp Route. Yep, Saren's going for Warp Route as well. They used to do Climb, where you would go straight down from there to flooded pipes and then climb up, but they discovered later that actually grabbing the checkpoint over here and the red maze moon and then ground pounding down to flooded pipes and warping back was a lot faster.
Alright, we're not going to see Boris here go for Flower Road skip. They're just going to take the 2-second time loss and take the safe alternative, which at a 111 level, I don't blame them for.
Yeah, I know a lot of people even at like 108s and like 106s who don't even go for Flower Road skip because it really isn't worth it. Usually when you're at around a 105, you're starting to do Nut Clip and maybe even Tree Route, so then you would have to do Flower Road skip, but in the in this route you don't have to do FRS, and it really isn't worth it because it's a minimal time save for a very high risk trick.
It's like Saren here also did not get a clean flooded pipeways.
Yeah, that cycle is pretty hard to make. You do have to really book it to make that cycle perfectly.
Alright, we see Boris here hopping up to the Spewart fight. This is also one that can be accomplished quite quickly if you have the timing down correctly.
Yeah, I'd say Spirit is probably the easiest of all the bosses, just because he pretty much just stands completely still the whole time, and you just sort of jump on him. So Saren is grabbing the Story Moon right as Boris grabs the Multi-Moon, so the time difference, I think, grew a little bit, but again, it could really come back, and Saren could get ahead at some point.
You know, right, there's still a lot of race left, so this by no means is calling it.
Plus, late game is where things get very scary with Luncheon, and Snow can even be scary with some of the sub areas. So,
alright, Boris here had a fairly clean Wooded Kingdom, no significant mistakes that really cost a lot of time.
Yeah, that was
which is always good, because Wooded can really kill a lot of people's runs.
Yeah, I'd say Wooded is probably the most difficult kingdom, or one of the most. Maybe unless you're doing Spiritless Luncheon, but at every level, Wooded is difficult, and it just gets more difficult the further that you go. So it's very unforgiving kingdom.
Alright, Saren here took the checkpoint, just in case.
Yeah, Saren seems to be grabbing a lot of checkpoints, which did pay off.
And you also see Saren here missed the jump after knocking off the hat. So...
oh, we do see fast hats from Boris as well in Cloud.
And fast hats is another thing that can save you a significant amount of time, as it really does speed up Bowser's. And we're getting Stravmanip here.
Stravmanip, yep.
So we love to see it. That's when the hat is on the outside. Of the white hat is on the outside. It makes you easier to get it.
Yeah, and Cloud, it
and we're not seeing a fast hat on the third round here. They are going to do it the normal way.
The third one can kind of be a heck because you have to damage boost a bit, but yeah, Cloud looks sort of like a boring kingdom, but there is a lot of stuff that you can fit in to save small amounts of time, such as manipulating where Bowser lands after you hit him, and preventing him from jumping as far, and doing fast hats and such can actually shave off quite a bit of time throughout the...
Yeah, absolutely. Almost every boss fight in Super Mario Odyssey can be sped up in some way. Alright, we see Boris here going for Meme Tree. Looks like they got a clean jump off.
Cap return jump. That's a not exceedingly difficult way to do it, but it can be a little annoying if you're not practiced in it. Lost is probably one of the scarier kingdoms, just because all of that purple poison, if you fall into it, you instantly die and you go straight back to the Odyssey. And there's also a bird right there, Klepto, who, if you touch certain parts of this stage without first going near him and scaring him, he'll actually steal Cappy, and it's a huge time loss because you have to go recover Cappy and then watch a few cutscenes, and it's not a fun time.
Right, yeah, getting Kleptoed per se, or getting your hat stolen by Klepto, is a reset point for many runners, if that happens. So they're very careful to avoid that, especially in a race setting. Alright, we don't see Saren going for fast hats here. They are doing it the normal way. So, you know, well, it'll be interesting to see how that works out in this race, if that'll really make the difference or not.
Yeah, fast hats actually saves a lot more time than people would think, but it is a sort of difficult strat. You have to be very comfortable with timing and spacing. So it can be an easy trick to mess up, and even top runners mess it up sometimes. So it's not 100% free, but it's not very difficult. Oh, I think we saw Boris attempting the up throw strat to get from under the bridge, but
Yep, I do think that's what they were trying to do, but unfortunately did not work out. They're going with the Death Warp here, back to the Odyssey.
Yeah, sometimes there's some motion control confusion. So you'll try and like up throw and you'll get a spin throw. So it can be hard sometimes to get used to getting the correct motion control cap throws.
All right, Saren here having difficult time setting up for Meme Tree. They keep bonking on other objects.
And you saw there, Saren bonked on the leaves is very like strange and even like annoying. So it can be hard to get used to where to stand and where you can and cannot bonk into.
Yeah, Boris is having a fairly clean run so far. No significant mistakes.
Yeah, this is a pretty good pace, too. That was some nice movement to the pylon. Night Metro can be very difficult.
All right, Saren both going to the menu and taking a picture for good luck. We love to see it.
Yep. Looks like Saren's doing the backup.
I think Saren is worried about getting kleptoed here.
Yeah.
Because they were on that lower level, so they were very close to being kleptoed.
If you don't know where the triggers are, it can be very, very scary sometimes. Because you might think that you're about to get kleptoed when you might not, or you might think that you're safe and then you get kleptoed. It looks like Saren was probably a little scared of that, so
they went to the death, and they went with the death and went back to the beginning.
That's always a way to do it. The butterfly can be very annoying sometimes, and here we see an interesting strat. If you miss any of those sorts of moons where you have like a butterfly or bird holding it, you can actually go into first person mode like that, and it'll spawn on top of Mario.
Yes, that is an excellent backup. You see Boris here in the City Hall interior doing a pretty good job managing those poles, as they can have kind of weird hitboxes.
Yeah, and luckily it didn't get an input drop on the dive. Sometimes when you hit the chest, it likes to eat your inputs.
And we see this big jump all the way across City Hall interior. No problem there.
That jump can actually be kind of scary because the camera is sort of fixed, and as you jump across, it slowly rotates. And so if you're not adjusted to the camera, then you can easily end up getting a value dive and falling all the way back down to the bottom.
And that is a significant time loss. We had a pretty good first cycle here from Boris. They easily got off all their shots well.
Yeah, the Wiggler fight is very interesting because the first cycle where you just capture the tank and shoot it is always the exact same. But coming up here, we also see a little bit of manipulation with the cycles, making sure the Wiggler doesn't move as far. But the second cycle here is actually one of the only bits of RNG in all of any percent. So there are several different patterns that the Wiggler can move in. This one is actually pretty nice.
Yes, that's right. The RNG on this can make things difficult, but there are ways to mitigate it. Ooh, Boris just missing one orb, and they're gonna have to take some time loss here and have a 3-cycle Wiggler, which is something runners never want.
Yeah, that was a nice pattern, but sometimes the balls that the Wiggler shoots out can sort of get in the way of your shots. And I think that's sort of what happened there. Boris almost clutched it, but there was just one bubble left.
Yeah,
that was a quick third cycle, though.
The people in the Freshman League are having a 108 and up, but it is currently filled up at this time, as today is the first day of run. All right, we see Saren here entering Metro Kingdom, as Boris is just about to head into the day Metro section. Yeah. Metro being one of multiple kingdoms where there are 2 multi-moons required for achieving world peace, which is not required in this category.
Yes. Metro here, you are actually required to
grab
that
Saren taking the bonk on that canopy jump.
Yeah, sometimes cap stalls can sort of get in the way of wall jumps if you don't time your inputs correctly, so that's sort of what happened there. That happens to me sometimes as well.
We
Here
see
we
Boris
see a
here
dram
in the day metro section, attempting to go for the capture warp dram here. They had to set it up twice.
Yeah, setting that one up quickly with the double jump can be very difficult. We'll see, it looks like Boris is going for Scoot Clip.
Yep, and Scoot Clip can save time, but looks like they are missing it here. What they have to do is actually completely use motion controls to turn their controller upside down to clip just inside of this cage.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a
You can see on people's
slower
face
setup.
cams are always very interesting to see how they hold their controllers.
Yeah, they flip it like upside down. Scoot Clip is one of those tricks that saves a good amount of time, so you actually have a bit of leeway to set it up. But you'll see top runners just drive straight by it, but that's extremely hard to do.
Oh no, Saren looks like they're having some difficulty here in the city interior. Sorry, I can't talk.
Yeah, the climb can be kind of difficult sometimes. Okay, it looks like Saren got up now. Cappy somehow missed the chest there. That was very strange. Sometimes it seems like Cappy does whatever he wants.
Sometimes, yes, Cappy can definitely have a mind of his own, for sure. Alright.
Here we're seeing the early musicians route from Boris. That's the more updated route.
Yep, and to achieve world peace in this kingdom, you need to get all 4 musicians assembled for a festival and do the whole festival to achieve world peace, which for some reason is required even though it's not a true boss fight.
Yeah, same as in Snow with the Bound Bowl race, where it's like a silly way to get world peace, but the festival is always a fun time.
Oh sure, it's definitely Cat Jam.
Ooh, that was some good park movement from Boris, getting the moon on the mech head.
Right, yeah, definitely. They're definitely having a clean race so far, with the only significant mistake being 3 cycle on the Mecha Wiggler.
Yeah, and they recovered very quickly from that, so it didn't lose as much as it could have.
Alright, we see Saren here going for the Mecha Wiggler. This one is a little bit more of a difficult pattern, as the Wiggler does twist over itself.
Yeah, but it wasn't too bad because the Wiggler stayed fairly straight. Sometimes it'll walk in circles, and that's a really bad pattern. You don't want that, but Saren got a 2 cycle.
Is getting the 2 cycle, so saving a little bit of time over Boris. But there is still a significant gap between the runners here.
And Day Metro is very difficult. So Metro, like Wooded, is one of the more difficult kingdoms, and it looked like Boris had a little bit of difficulty getting up on top of the pole there for that moon, but nothing major.
Yeah. Boris here did miss the moon, so they will have to climb up there. You can also jump off the canopy there to get the moon. And they are grabbing the hint art here, not having enough coins. Skip it.
Yeah, that hint art is routed in because it's very quick, and it gives you 200 coins, which is enough to buy the shop moon in Snow, which is only 100. There is another hint art in Cloud as well, but it can be sort of difficult to pick up, especially if you're doing fast hats without losing any time.
Right, yeah, definitely. If you are able to get it without losing time, you know, it's perfectly opportune.
Yeah, because the hint art in Metro actually loses a small amount of time, but it's marginally easier to grab. And it looked like Saren had a bit of difficulty with the RC, which is kind of normal. The controls are a little difficult to get used to.
Definitely, yes. Alright, Boris here globing at about a 34-34. So they are in pretty good pace, especially for someone at a 111 level.
Yeah, this is very good pace. Snow is still a fairly difficult kingdom coming up. I'm not expecting anything like Snowdram from either of these runners because it's very difficult and doesn't save much time. You'll normally see that around like a 104 level or so.
Right, yeah, especially unless they're very consistent at it, we wouldn't recommend it for sure, as it only saves about 2 seconds over the alternative.
Yeah, I know Cindy Fusick. She's like amazing at snow. She goes for Snowdram at a 108. Her snow is like really good for her level.
Right, yeah, there are always, exceptions to every rule.
Some good starting movement here. Oh, a little messed up, but
Yeah. Mario swimming is not fast, so you want to avoid Mario swimming as much as possible. Everyone
Cindy,
say hello to Captain Toad, but not really hello.
Talking
Boris,
through the snow.
yeah,
I don't
Boris,
think I've ever seen that before.
usually you will. Oh, they're even taking a video here of talking through the snow.
I didn't know you could do that. I don't know if that's a new discovery or something. It probably isn't, but that's...
Usually you will see runners clear at least some of the snow.
Yeah. Because normally I thought you had to clear the snow to talk to Captain Toad, so maybe that was just some weird game thing.
Maybe. I mean, they did take a video capture of that, so they're probably going to go back and look at it later.
Maybe post it in the Discord, because I've never seen that before. I didn't know that was even possible. So yeah, it looks like Boris is not going for Snowdram because of the early shop.
Right, and we're socially distancing here in the snow shop, which is great.
Snow is one of the shops that you can stand very far away. Each shop you can sort of stand a different amount of distance from the shopkeep. And Snow you can stand on like the other side of the room essentially. It looked like Saren was having a bit of trouble as well getting the moon up on top of the tower.
They did have to adjust a little bit, but still made it work in the end.
Almost to the end of Metro, just a few more moons to grab. It looks like Saren is doing late musicians.
They're heading to the People's Room here, and they still need 4 more moons. 2 of them they'll be getting here in the People's Room would be my guess.
Yeah, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to Saren. I'm sort of flipping back and forth, but I'm not sure what 2 moons they're missing. Because late musicians would be missing 3 moons. Missing the little canopy to bounce off of. That can be frustrating for
Boris
sure.
here is having some difficulty here, and you want to be careful because these typhoons can blow you into that purple goop and just insta-kill you.
Yeah, that is probably the scariest part of snow. Just a lot can go wrong. I think Saren maybe missed Trash and Girder, perhaps?
Yep, I think that is what happened. Taking a couple of bonks here, and I think Saren is realizing that they made a mistake in their route, and they're trying to back it up the best they can.
Or maybe Saren forgot to go grab the bassist. That might be what it is. Because there are 2 moons in the park there, one in the Mecha Wiggler head, and then one from the bassist.
Alright, yep, and this will be getting Saren the 20th moon they need in order to leave, but unfortunately they do have to go back to the City Hall before they're able to warp out and leave.
Yeah, Metro can kind of be a little confusing since it's one of the longer kingdoms. Metro, you get the most amount of moons out of any kingdom before you can leave.
Right, and Saren here confirming that they forgot their route, which can happen, especially if you're running multiple categories.
So there's a mention in chat of ICC. Yeah, Fletch has it right. It saves 7 optimally. So in this Goomba room, there's a trick you can do similar to Lake Clip, where you clip at a seam between 2 walls, and it essentially skips having to go grab the Goombas that you saw Boris get and put them on the stack and watch the little cutscene.
Right, yeah, but it is a very difficult trick, and you will see it in very few RTA runs, even at the top level.
Yeah, I think people are really only going for it in bad runs. I think Nuzumi is one of those people, and maybe
And I have seen Psionic go for it a few times.
Psionic, yeah, Psionic is really good at snow, so I'm not surprised about that. Pretty decent starting movement in snow. Line was a little off. So Boris is globing at the as Saren is talking to Toad. So still far ahead. Coming up for Boris is Seaside, which is my personal favorite kingdom.
Oh, really? Why is it your favorite, Sly?
It's just very chill vibes. I like the music. It's very pretty. And I really like it in any percent. It was my favorite kingdom and my fastest one. So
Yeah, I mean,
I always
Seaside also
enjoyed
does have
Seaside.
some interesting captures in the Gushins.
Yeah, for sure. Sadly, we don't use any of that in any percent. We only use the cheap sheeps. But Seaside, there's definitely a lot of different things that you can do for starting movement. Boris opting for a dive and then spin pound. That works perfectly fine. That was a pretty decent line. Going for the fast strats in this room, they're a little difficult to pull off if you're not.
Yeah, they missed the first
doing the
ground
right
pound
thing.
location, so they had to do it twice.
Yeah, you sort of have to like dive and hold neutral and then or hold neutral, dive, and then hold forward. It looks like going for backflip. They just missed it.
Right, let's see if Saren here is going to try and go for the moon clip.
Possibly. No. The moon
No,
clip
that's
isn't very
definitely
worth
not gonna
it
work.
in any percent. It's very difficult.
Yeah, he would have had to be much closer to that wall in order to clip.
And yeah, as Juice said, the moon clip only saves a second in this category. So it's not very worth it unless you're at a very high level and you really, really need that second. It looks like Boris took a bit of damage on the cheap. The cycle was a little off.
And this sea bacon can also be a little hectic, per se.
Yeah. The sea bacons like to get in the way a lot.
And good fish movement can really save you a lot of time.
Yeah, Seaside is mostly based off fish movement. It's very like based on tight lines and a good fish clip as well. But the starting movement does have a factor, but pretty much half the kingdom is swimming around in a fish.
And we did see Saren here wait for the Typhoon to stop blowing and cycle time, so that did cost them a few seconds as they were trying to wait to avoid the death.
Because if you don't make the right cycle and you try and capture the Typhoon or the Blowy Joey, as some people like calling it, you can actually end up either getting blown into the poison or Cappy will get blown away and you'll have to wait for Cappy to come back in order to capture it.
Alright, we see Boris here getting first try on the fish clip, which is always a good thing. You know.
Yeah, that's a fairly easy trick, but it's sort of interesting how it works. You sort of manipulate the boundaries of the Seaside Kingdom, and at that very point, once you get past the boundary, you can sort of go out of bounds. So you sort of push the fish in, swim back so that it resets it, and then when you recapture, the boundary is behind the fish.
Exactly.
It's a very, very interesting trick.
Boris here having a pretty clean Seaside Kingdom. Overall, their run here is pretty clean with not a lot of significant mistakes.
Saren had a little bit of difficulty there getting into the pipe.
It seems like they dove over. Oh, we're going into snapshot mode here. Take a picture, it'll last longer.
Yep. Memories of this race. So Saren is almost to the end of snow, just grabbing one last moon, and then to Seaside, which Seaside is a very quick kingdom, so it's sort of in and out. At the top level, you'll see maybe around like 3 minute, like 10-second, like 15-second times, and then around this level, you'll probably see more like a 3:30, 3:40. So it's very, very quick either way.
I see Boris here into Luncheon Kingdom, which also has a significant number of moons you need to collect, and various routing opportunities available here.
Yeah, Luncheon is definitely one of the scarier kingdoms, probably the scariest. Wooded is very difficult, but Luncheon has a lot of things that can go wrong just because all that pink goop around
Pepto-Bismol.
there. Yeah, the boiling Pepto-Bismol. That's lava, and if you touch it, Mario will sort of go into a stun animation, and you lose quite a bit of time. So
But
if you're not
luckily, with
careful,
this, unlike the purple poison, you take damage and you don't insta-die. So there is recovery from it.
yes, there is recovery. Especially if you're if you're in a place where you could sort of hit the lava and then the ground, or if you're sort of very careful of how you hit the lava, you can definitely recover from it.
Alright, we see Saren here entering Seaside Kingdom.
Let's see starting movement. For some reason, the game didn't want to give a wall jump there. That was very strange.
Yes.
The geometry of Seaside sort of lends to weird things like that happening. Because sometimes if the wall isn't like perfectly smooth, Mario will just sort of slide down it without like wall sliding, and so you won't really be able to get a wall jump out of it.
Saren having a difficult time getting this ground pound moon here. The intended way to find this moon is to feel for the vibrations on your controller in ground pound where it vibrates the most. But it is in the same place every time, so runners know exactly where to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion in the chat about Luncheon. I think it's a nice kingdom, especially casually, but it's very difficult in a speedrun setting. There's just so much that can go wrong. And it's just a very stressful kingdom in general.
Definitely. Lots of places to bonk, lots of places to die.
Boris going for the triple that way. That's slightly faster than going around.
We see Saren here starting off the fish portion. So like we said prior, this type of movement is important, and they are going to take damage on that sea bacon there, which can definitely be annoying.
Yeah, they took that line a little wide as well. So
this line looks a little wide as well. So definitely going to be losing a little bit of time there on that fish movement, especially compared to Boris.
Definitely. Yeah, lines are very difficult to get used to, and taking tight lines with the fish can be scary because the fish bonk loses a second. So you want to try and avoid fish bonks while taking as tight of lines as possible.
Alright, we see Boris here entering the Forks room, which does have a pretty hot track, not gonna lie.
Yeah. And Forks is a pretty exciting room, very motion control heavy. Doing Forks without motion controls is very, very difficult. Just because you can't get like up throws and the motion shakes in the Forks, so you lose a lot of time if you don't use motion controls.
Definitely, very up throw heavy. We see Saren here entering the fish clip.
Oh, that did
I wasn't sure that was gonna work, but...
Yeah, I thought it might work, but you have to get a certain amount of distance away from the fish in order for it to work, so... Boris opting to go to the side. It's actually a little faster to go directly to the moon from there, but the vertical... You have to really maximize your vertical height, so the jump can be sort of difficult to pull off easily and consistently. Ooh, Boris killing the pan bro. That's a little unfortunate.
Alright, Saren here going to be leaving Seaside Kingdom, and they are several minutes behind Boris at this point. So Boris is going to have to take some significant mistakes in order for Saren to come back.
Yeah, it looked like there was some bad cheese RNG there. The pan bros, pan throws are fairly RNG, so you can be standing right next to where you're intending to hit and be throwing, and you could just miss all of your shots. So, it can be
with Sly, both of
unfortunate
us
time
being
loss.
from Wisconsin, obviously we love the cheese.
Yes, I hate the cheese rocks in this game, but I love cheese. You're legally required to love cheese if you're from here, so.
That is accurate. Can confirm. And we see Saren here entering Luncheon Kingdom. They are several minutes behind Boris at this time, so they're really going to have some clean gaming, and it is going to have to take some mistakes from Boris as well.
Boris, I'm interested to see how he does his jump. Oh, okay. There is a little ledge there that you can jump on. That's a little quicker, but it's a very precise jump.
We see Boris here grabbing the meat, and that will be the final 3 moons. It is optimal to grab the meat at the end of this if you're not doing Spewerless, because it does provide you with 3 moons and a free warp back to the Odyssey, as it is a story moon.
Yes. Usually if you're grabbing a story moon in a route, you want to save it for the end. Or a multi-moon rather, because multi-moons take you directly to the Odyssey after you grab them. So it's a very convenient way to cap off the last 3 moons that you need.
Right, we see Boris here exiting Luncheon Kingdom.
Yeah, Saren has just had a few unfortunate mistakes that have sort of drained time throughout. And so Saren's a bit behind, but Boris has been playing fairly clean.
Definitely.
Few minor mistakes.
Few minor mistakes, but that's definitely, acceptable at a 111 level to have some minor mistakes, as it won't be as, clean as someone at the top level.
Yeah, definitely. The lower level is usually can you do the route without making too many major mistakes, and with having decent fluidity in your movement.
Right. Movements are very important at this level. Tricks are less important at this level. So.
Yeah, movement is very important at every level. Like, the tricks look all flashy, but most of your time save is going to come from movement. Even looking at Mitch versus someone with just a 59, you can see clear differences in movement where Mitch is slightly faster, but does more difficult tricks. So really, time save just comes from a lot of lines and movement and such.
Definitely. We see Boris here in the Ruined Dragon fight. This boss is very flashy in its appearance, but the cycles are very consistent. So as long as you do the intended damage boost, so you can start pulling out those keys from the head faster, you can definitely, most people would refer to this boss as more auto-scrollery.
Yeah, definitely. Casually, it's very scary, but it's fairly auto-scrollery, but you can still definitely drain time if you're not careful. If you're not very clean with either your starting movement or with pulling these swords, you can actually drain a bit of time. And I think I saw Boris is using spin throw captures to pull the swords out, and that can sometimes be a little bit of a problem because one of them, for example, sort of went around, so it loses a little bit of time. At this level, it's not that big, but it's just a small thing that you can lose a bit of time to.
Right, and we see Saren here in the Forks room. Looks like they're having a little bit of difficulty here. They're not falling all the way down, but they did lose some time as they missed the capture on that fork.
Yeah, opting for a little bit of a safer way to do forks, not requiring the up throw. Up throws can be kind of difficult with Joy-Cons as well, especially if you're playing detached, just because you have to move both at the same time. And playing detached Joy-Cons, motion control confusion is a lot easier, so...
Right, yeah, I'm not sure if Saren plays detached or with the grip.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but... Boris is out of Ruined.
And they are on pretty good pace.
Yeah, that is pretty decent pace. about a 55 ruined exit. Bowser's is coming up though. Bowser's is definitely not a easy kingdom. There's a lot that can go wrong. The platforming is very difficult, and lots of boss fights. It can just, a lot of things can go awry in Bowser's.
Right. I do think though we have the potential for Boris to PB if they have a clean mech.
Yeah, it looks like it could be possible PB pace. Maybe not. Oh no, wait, I don't know how to do math. Never mind. Yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, 55, and for some reason I thought like, I don't know. I just was not doing math. Ooh, some bird dram from Boris.
Juice is saying here in the chat that Boris is only 37 seconds off of their 108. So
yeah, this is a very, very spicy pace. Very good run. We may see a PB out of Boris here.
You know, and PBs in races are definitely rare because you're not allowed to reset, and especially in any percent, which is so reset heavy. PBs are quite uncommon.
Yeah, usually you see a lot fewer resets at a lower level, just because
Looks like Saren here is having some difficulty here in this luncheon around the rocks.
Yeah, Saren is at the very end of luncheon though. Saren has been sort of moving along. But yeah, moving on those rocks, the geometry is very strange in luncheon, so there are a lot of like weird slopes, and it can be hard to see where you can stand and where you can't.
Definitely, you know, lots of weird bonks are possible in this stage. Alright, we're moving in here into the shards movement for Boris, which is definitely a place that can lose you a lot of time if you don't do it right.
Yeah, shards is probably one of the scarier parts of any run, just because the movement is so difficult. Like, the geometry of Bowser's and like the layout makes moving around and grabbing the shards quickly and efficiently difficult. This seems like a fairly good shards though.
No, I mean it's not been the cleanest, for sure.
Yeah, but it was good enough. I mean,
it was good enough.
Yeah,
you know, right now we're going to be looking for a clean mech, especially because that's a place you can really bleed a lot of time.
Definitely, especially if you're doing something like birdless, where you can sort of fall off mech climbing or sort of miss a spin pound on a bubble, depending on what strats you're doing. But yeah, shards is definitely a very difficult section, but I think that was fairly decent shards.
And you know, we are having to grab the extra moons here. You're seeing runners grab the extra moons, even though you don't see them in the top corner like you have. That's because the game is kind of debating us here, and they're making us think this is the last kingdom. You don't have to go anywhere else. But that's not the case. Let's see, I'm not sure if Boris is on Team Topper first or Team Harriet first. Looks like we're going to see a Topper first here.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Topper first is not good. You should not do Topper first by any means.
You know, this has been one of the longest running memes in SMO. Whether runners do Topper first or Harriet first, as the game does not require the bosses to be beat in a certain order. So if people here are not familiar with the game, there is not a significant time difference between it. People just have their teams and, you know, they stick to it. Yeah, Sarah here on 1 health here in the Ruined Dragon fight, so they're going to need to be careful.
Boris missing the bomb hit. This is a little scary.
And they're on 1 health here in Harriet.
Harriet
so they're going to want to be careful.
But things can definitely go wrong in this fight if you're not prepared.
It looks like they're missing the fast movement here a little bit, so they are going to be losing a little bit of time to the optimal strats here on Harriet.
Oh, I forgot to talk about Captain Toad in Ruined.
Oh, yes.
I didn't even see if Boris got it. You have to free Captain Toad. There's a little hint art there.
Yep, some runners like to play around it with their hat.
Yeah. It's pretty much required. If you don't, then it's pretty sad, because then Captain Toad is just stuck in there forever, being harassed by the poor dragon.
All right, yeah, we see some argument here in the chat about Topper first versus Harriet first, which is not uncommon to see. I know Saren earlier did say they do Harriet first. So it looks like we're probably going to be seeing Harriet first from Saren.
So that was a pretty decent bunnies from Boris.
Topper was okay. Harriet wasn't the best.
Harriet went a little bad, but it wasn't the worst. Now it's time for Mech. This section of Bowser's can be sort of stressful. Luckily, Boris did not do crates, so Boris doesn't have to deal with blind jump at all.
Right. And Mech is kind of the ultimate platforming stage.
Yes.
Where it really tests people's skills and, whether you're able to recover from something or not.
And Saren is heading to Bowser's now too. And you actually saw as well, I forgot to mention that Boris did get an insta-capture on the Pokio. So if you can get Cappy to sort of home in behind something, it'll knock off something's hat, and then when Cappy tries to come back, it'll actually capture the...
Alright, we are going to see Boris here attempting to go up the left leg of the mech, which is less common. Most times you'll see people attempt to go up the right, and they're missing the first ground pound there on Skewert.
Yeah, mech is very, very difficult.
So they are going to lose a little bit of time on that. Normally you'll see runners going up the right leg, but you'll see Boris here going up the left leg, which is less common.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting strat. I believe that was discovered by Small Ant. But
yeah,
then
that is a Small Ant strat.
Shortly
we are seeing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but people switch to Goryu. Yes, after that.
Yeah.
Oh no! We see Boris here falling off the mech in the middle here.
Falling off.
So they're really going to need to be careful here in order to avoid as much damage as possible.
Falling off the second stage is the worst as well, because the mech is sort of running around, and so you lose the most time falling off there.
Yeah, this is going to be a significant time loss here from Boris.
Yeah, probably around 30 or so seconds.
At least.
Now you have to wait for the bird capture to climb back up the mech.
See if they're able to recover from it here, okay?
Saren seems to be having a few problems with shards. Ooh. Missing that jump.
Hopefully Boris will be able to get back on top here. Okay, that was a little too close for comfort there.
Okay, got the last hit on the mech. This is still very good pace for Boris.
Yeah, still definitely good pace, but falling off the mech there is probably the most significant mistake they've made this run.
Definitely. Ooh, it looks like Saren is going for the
glory hole
moon in shards. Bowser's is interesting to route because there are a lot of moons that are similar in speed. And so it's really at this level more of a matter of preference of what you want to go for. Some are slightly faster than others, but most of them are around the same amount of time that you have to go out of your way to grab.
Boris here does still have the potential for a PB, but it's going to be significantly more difficult.
Yeah, it's going to have to take a very good moon in order for this to PB, but this is very, very good pace. Very consistent play from Boris as well, which is always good to see.
Definitely.
And Moon is a very strange kingdom because you can have a lot of invisible time loss with having vectors that aren't extra clean, and small things like shakes in the Bowser fight and stuff like that.
Exactly. Hey, we see Saren here going for the Harriet first.
As it should be. Okay. Yeah, people are saying in the chat, Miles Moon. Miles Pro has Comsob for Moon, so
Miles
Pro is
Pro
the
is a
best
beast
Moon
at
player.
Moon. He just flies through the stage.
Yeah, it's kind of insane watching his moons. It's like, how are you that fast?
You'll oftentimes see people asking for a Miles Pro Moon when people are close to PB's
Yeah.
pace, as it can save a lot of time. We see Saren here having some difficulty here with the Harriet fight.
Yeah, Harriet can be sort of difficult. Boris going for the vectored triple there. Vectoring to the left instead of the right. It doesn't have too much of a
We
difference.
see Bonk here losing momentum, which is, can be some significant time loss when it adds up.
Yeah, that was probably around like a 2-second bonk, so not that much time, but...
Oh, we see Saren here on 1 health here in the topper fight, so they're really going to need to be careful as it's easy for these hats. Oh, and we see Saren here dying in topper. Which is unfortunate, as looks like he didn't even get the bunny's checkpoint. I'm not sure why they're going back up there, as they already got the moon. Must just be force of habit. And they didn't get the island.
Frustration as well.
Oh, and now they're going back. Not really sure what's happening here. Looks like Saren's having some difficulty. Oh, they're going back again?
Yeah, sometimes there's some input difficulty there. If you cap throw too close to a pylon, that ends up happening. But Boris is having a very clean moon so far. You saw the moon cave skip. So that skips an entire sort of endgame gauntlet that you're supposed to go through.
Not sure quite what Saren was doing there. They were zooming in on the flag. I think they were a little mad at themselves not for getting that checkpoint.
Yeah. Probably a bit of frustration, maybe a bit of nerves as well.
Taking another damage here on the topper fight.
I'd say topper is probably the most difficult boss fight out of all 4 bunnies. There's just a lot that can go wrong when fighting topper.
Definitely. You have to be careful with your timing here, as if you don't hit him in the correct spot and on the right time, it's very easy to take damage and mess up.
Yeah, it's a lot of like timing and spacing stuff. It can be very difficult. We're not seeing fast hats from Boris, which does lose a little bit of time, but again, it's sort of a difficult strat, so it's not really that big of a deal, especially if you're uncomfortable going for something like that.
Right, I mean, fast hats on the last stage, is one of the places where there is required damage boosting or intentional damage.
Yeah, it's not necessarily required, but it's very difficult to do fast hats in the final stage without damage boosting. So most people end up doing so because doing it without, especially in Moon, is very difficult.
Yeah, and this does have the
Oh, okay. Saren accidentally left the call.
Okay, yeah. Saren is back now. All right, we see Boris here entering the Pillars room with the potential for a 110 if they have a good Pillars here. So get your cat jams in the chat.
Yes,
get one
cat
in myself.
for the Pillars.
So, obviously, with a person with the potential for a PB in a race is really lovely to see.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad neglecting Saren a bit, but this pace is very good, so I sort of felt the need to focus a little bit on like a PB pace run.
Saren looks like they may fall off the mech here. Oh, no.
Yeah. That's a little unfortunate. Mech is very, very difficult, especially if you're not delaying everything.
It seems like Saren here is contemplating whether or not to finish.
It looks like Boris is going to get a PB.
Yes, this looks like a definite PB here from Boris.
By over 30 seconds, it seems.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, like
it's about a 1 minute PB.
Yeah.
1:10:31 here from Boris, so big
wow.
GGs in the chat here for Boris. Almost a 1 minute PB in a race, falling off of mech. So.
Oh, 1:10:22, even better because the timing.
Sync was off. Okay, so we have an over 1 minute PB here in a race.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Definitely.
GG's Boris, and Boris is sort of getting to the point as well where. Sort of once you hit 110, that's sort of the time when things get really, really serious, and like a lot of people will start looking at you and being like, "Oh, this person is like taking this seriously," and they're really grinding.
110 is definitely a really big minute barrier to break.
It looks as if Saren might not finish.
I think looks like Saren has decided to finish after falling off of mech here. Not to finish, apologies. As Boris has taken the definite W here with a large PB.
Yeah, mech is very difficult.
Boris, do we have you here for a post-game interview?
No, yeah, Boris isn't in here. I think I'm back in here. I think I was unmuted the whole time as well. I think I only mumbled under my breath at Dookie, so I'm probably good. Probably didn't create too many enemies.
But yeah, that's kind of epic that Boris PB'd in a run. That's pretty cool.
Definitely, we love to see it. And Saren, we saw some really good gameplay from you, but unfortunately, there was some big mistakes, which cost you lots of time.
Yeah, mech especially is a big heck. But yeah, there were just a lot of small things, and you did say you were a bit out of practice too.
I'm just not very good at this game. It's not that I'm out of practice. I'm pretty new.
Yeah, well, if you're new to a game, you can't expect to be super good at it. Speedrunning is all about practice. So if you're not fast, it's all about playing more.
In Metro Kingdom, did you forget your route? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was like focusing on chat or something when I was warping back to Pauline or whatever for the first time, and then I was like, oh, it's time to warp up to the top, and then I was like, oh, it's not time to warp up to the top.
Yeah, you sort of missed the park section, which is sort of easy to forget, to be honest, especially if you're distracted by chat or something.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a difficult time to restream a race and also participate it.
Yeah,
so
that was sort of difficult on you.
But it's definitely fun to play in tournaments, even if it's kind of a hassle.
Yeah. And hey, GG's on the race as well.
Yeah, I think we got miniboris in here. I don't know if...
Boris, do we have you here answer some questions? Maybe unmute yourself?
We'll figure it out eventually. I don't think that anybody's on super crazy scheduled pace they need to go right now. I think I added everybody that was waiting for their matches.
All right, Boris, do we have you here? Boris, do we have you?
It says they're unmuted, but they might be on like push to talk or something, or maybe have mic problems.
Hello?
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you. Jesus, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, you not only won the race, but you also PB'd, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, I didn't have my normal splits up. I just had like the timer, not my splits, so I had no idea if I was on pace. and then I was just trying to concentrate, and I just glanced at chat, and everybody was playing PB pace, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty crazy, Jesus.
Yeah, we saw
So-
some really clean gameplay for you throughout.
Oh. Alright, I don't know what I did, but I broke the audio somehow. Okay. Please stand by. Intermission music is being funneled to your ears. Please calm down. Everything is okay. Nobody panic. I plugged back in my monitor, okay, because I had to plug my Switch into my monitor so I could play on it. So I'm plugging my normal monitor to my PC, and yeah, I don't know what happened. Hold on. Panic! No, don't panic, chat.
Run PB pace.
Don't panic. Oh.
No, I don't know. I was
What is happening? Okay, hold on.
in my head trying to concentrate and calculate it, and I was like, wait a minute, am I gonna PB? And then I did. So that was. I mean, I didn't expect, like, I got like my sand exit was like my best exit by 20 seconds or something.
Wow.
So that was a bit mental.
Yeah, you did have a pretty
Yeah, I got-
clean early game, for sure.
Yeah. It does not normally go that well. It went very well, and then I got a 3 cycle, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not PBing then.
Yeah, you definitely played very clean that whole time, minus like a few mistakes like falling off mech on the 3 cycle and such, but for the most part that was very clean gameplay, and you only had, like I said, a few minor things that you had
Yeah,
problems with.
thank you. Also, that in snow, Captain Toad, like none of the snow like disappeared, and I was so confused.
I don't
Yes,
know
Sly
what
and
that
I
was.
were both very confused when we saw you take the video
Yeah.
capture there.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell just happened? I didn't know
Maybe
you could
drop
do
that in the SMO Discord and see if anyone knows about that, because I don't know if that's a new discovery or not. Like, people know a lot of stuff about this game, but I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've never seen that either. I'll definitely do that.
So yes, Boris did PB here, so make sure to go give them a follow.
Yes, it's very hype that they PB'd in a race at that.
You know, PBing in a race is very difficult.
Yeah, it could also help that you did have your normal splits hidden, because sometimes when you don't see the pace, you're just sort of focusing on the gameplay, and so you end up
I was
playing a
just
lot better.
focusing on being ahead. I wasn't really thinking. The one time I didn't really want to PB, like I wasn't bothered about PBing, is the time that I PB'd. So
Yeah, because normally you're always stressing about it, and you're like, oh, am I going to PB? And then you end up getting too anxious and making a mistake or something. But yeah, you played very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so make sure to go give Boris and Saren a follow on their own channels. Saren is our lovely host here, obviously, at Cool Cat Gang. So, they definitely deserve all the support and love. So, drop a follow, join the
Definitely.
Discord. I'm going to plug everything. Use Twitch Prime to subscribe.
Yes.
Um,
Any Twitch primers in the chat?
Alright, if that's it, I'm going to go to a little break here and set up for the next match, because we are behind schedule still, which is always a good time. But we'll be back in like 5-10 minutes, hopefully, or less, maybe, question mark. Thank you so much for commentating. Commentators, I really appreciate it. I don't know who's on next for commentary. Okay, we have commentary for next match. Let's go.
Yeah, we have Trobin and Unimu up, so that's definitely going to be an interesting pair.
Yeah.
For commentary wise.
Oh, that was wild. My alert just went like full YouTube poop. Okay. Anyways,
All right,
break
well,
time.
thanks for having us, Saren, and GG's.
Yeah.
We will be back in like 5 minutes or so.
Thank you.